player props here on PrizePicks for Tuesday, January 7th. Before I get started, you guys take a look in the description below of the video. Hop into the Discord. That's where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. We have other cappers in there as well. Super positive community. Everyone in there just trying to help each other cash. Currently doing a promo right now for first-time members, 20% off your first month using promo code TUFF with the link in the description below of the video. So again, go ahead and check that out. But yeah, let's get into it. 2 player props for this NBA slate. Pretty decent slate overall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games on the slate. So yeah, let's not waste any time, you guys. Let's just get right into it. The first one I'm looking at here, fantasy score, it's LaMelo Ball. I think 41.5 is an extremely buy low. Look at this matchup. Phoenix coming off a back-to-back. We know Phoenix is not very good. And Charlotte's decent, right? When all their players are healthy, and this is a home game for them. So I'm expecting this game to be super competitive. We know Phoenix plays little to no defense here. 222 over under 4.5 point spread. But for LaMelo Ball, he's obviously a monster, right? He's just, 41.5. If we look at over on Outlier, again, there's a link in the description below. You can get a 7-day free trial. If we look at, let's actually see if his fantasy score line is up on here now, because earlier it wasn't. 1 second. I do apologize for the delay here on this. All right, it's not on here, but for example, like his PRA, which obviously positively correlates, the Phoenix Suns, you can see here, allow the 5th most points, 5th most rebounds to point guards in the NBA. We look at LaMelo Ball this season, he's over in 16 of 23 games. But if we look over on here, he's actually only gone under this fantasy score line in 5 games this season. 5 games this season, he's gone under this line. In 3 of those games, he played under 30 minutes. So at 41.5, it's an extremely buy low in my opinion. We know the Phoenix Suns struggle heavily against the pick and roll, and with Mark Williams on the floor, a big that can roll the hoop, score on a variety of LaMelo's really thrived. Besides facing the best defense in the NBA, and he plays with Mark Williams, right? So that alone really speaks volumes to kind of LaMelo Ball's fantasy score upside and kind of just how he impacts the floor, right? It impacts the game in a variety of different ways. And like I said, even taking at a bigger picture, LaMelo Ball with Mark Williams on the court this season per 36 minutes only, in 80 minutes, LaMelo Ball averaging 1.5 fantasy points per minute, 53.5 fantasy points, 30.1% usage. 53.5 fantasy points per 36. All we need here is 41.6. Just an insane buy low line in my opinion for LaMelo and what should be a competitive game. We also look at guards. Fantasy score game like this season versus Phoenix. And this is really since, I don't know, let's say this is since December 13th. Jaden Ivey, 43.6, Keontae George, 44.7, Desmond Bane, 46.5, Tyrese Maxey, 48, Tyrese Halliburton, 54, and Cade, 56.7. Just since the new year, Tyrese Maxey had 48, and Tyrese Halliburton a couple nights ago had 54 fantasy. It's debatable. Melo's a higher fantasy score upside player than both these guys or anyone on this list. Maybe, I don't know, Cade is pretty good. But at 41.5 from LaMelo, it's too low in my opinion. So that's the first play. The second play is a very interesting one. I would prefer fantasy score if it's maybe there, but at this time it's not. It's going to be a steals prop. And looking at Dyson Daniels over 2.5 steals. Again, 2.5 steals for any player is wild. But Dyson Daniels leads the NBA in steals, and this is just a crazy matchup. I'm surprised it's at plus money on books. But we look at Dyson Daniels, again, on some books, I think it's plus 100 on Bet365, but on DraftKings it's minus 120. Again, I don't think PrizePicks would put plus 100 normal line, so I'm definitely thinking this line's going to move in the right direction. But when he plays 29 minutes this season, he's over this line in 18 of 28 games, averaging 3.43 steals per game, right? You can see the hit rate on this line. Again, this is Outlier. You can get a 7-day free trial with a link in the description below. But the Utah Jazz allow the most steals in the NBA to teams, right? And to shooting guards, they allow the second most. To point guards, they allow the third most. Second most, and then the third most. Even to small forwards, they allow the 4th most. So again, whatever position Dyson Daniels plays defensively on the floor, it's an absolute elite matchup. And Jalen Johnson is out for this game as well. And you can see here, Jalen Johnson's out. So in games with Jalen Johnson off the floor, or per 36 minutes with Jalen Johnson off the floor, Dyson Daniels averages almost 4 steals per game. All right, 3.9 steals per game per 36 minutes in a pretty decent sample size. And actually the difference is 0.8 more steals per game. I think he just sees more minutes. Probably sees just more usage defensively. Obviously, he sees a ton of usage already. But like I said, I mean, the Utah Jazz opponent steals per game. They allow 10.3 steals. 10.3 steals per game to opponents. 10.3. So, I mean, we're talking about the best defensive player or the best guard as far as steals per game in the NBA. I mean, look at this hit rate against the team that allows 10.3. And you look at guards, game log this season versus the Jazz logging 30 plus minutes. I mean, just the amount of guards that have had at least 2 steals, right? This isn't even, of course, the full season. This is just, I mean, obviously this view is a little limited here. But Westbrook, Kyrie both had 4, Jamal Murray 4, Cameron Payne 3, Donovan Mitchell 3, and these are all fairly recent. If we just look at players in general, right, which is probably just going to expand this even more. Really quickly here, steals, because again, I mean, Dyson Daniels just, I mean, we're talking about players in there. Paul George 5, Joel Embiid 4, OG Anunoby 3, Cameron Payne 3. I mean, let me just see this. Let's just do this actually with 2+ steals. This will give us a better idea of this type of game. And you can see here, I mean, we've seen just 25 different players in the month of, since December 19th, 25 different players had at least 2 steals. Love this spot for Dyson Daniels at 2.5. I think it's an insane line, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments below about these 2 plays. Please drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.